Good morning, Moonhaven Falls. I am Audric Cashmere. After the shady business with Litigate and Lord Kendrick's response, many of us were hoping for a couple of quiet weeks. It seems, however, that our wishes will remain just that. Our lead story this morning concerns a series of unprecedented atmospheric disturbances that have gripped the island since the third bell this morning. What began as scattered reports of a nippy breeze has now evolved into a town-wide phenomena that the Council of Elders is currently struggling to categorize. At approximately 8 o'clock this morning, the first official report reached the Office of Public Safety. Master Weaver Pendergast, while transporting a shipment of silk across the northern bridge, reported a sensation he described as walking into a wall of frozen wool. According to Pendergast, the ambient noise of the rushing Moonhaven River was instantly silenced, replaced by a vacuum of absolute quiet so profound that it caused a physical vertigo. Within seconds, his morning tea, held in a double-insulated ceramic mug, was found to be solid ice. Since that initial report, over 40 similar incidents have been logged. These dead zones, as they are being called, appear to be mobile and invisible. They're not merely cold either. They are thermally and acoustically void. We've received word from the market district that several vendors have abandoned their stalls after experiencing what can only be described as incorporeal collisions. Citizens report feeling a heavy, fur-like texture brushing against limbs, accompanied by a local drop in temperature that causes frost to form almost instantly on clothing and skin. The most concentrated activity appears to be centered around the Dragon Gift Fountain. While the magical waters continue to steam at their regulated 70 degrees, the perimeter of the fountain has become a labyrinth of these silent patches. One moment a citizen may hear the cheerful splashing of the water, and the next they're engulfed in a pocket of silence so thick they can't hear their own panicked shouts. Chief Constable Vane has issued a public advisory. If you encounter a sudden patch of dead air, do not investigate. Do not attempt to feel out the boundaries of the cold. These anomalies are exhibiting the weight and momentum of large physical objects, despite their invisibility. The Council has requested that all non-essential travel to the town square be suspended until the nature of these phantoms is understood. We have reached out to the mountain outposts for word of any elemental surges, but for now, the source of these disturbances remains as invisible as the threats themselves. On a lighter note, we go now to Barnaby Buttercup, who is out on the streets getting people's reactions to the events of the last several weeks. Barnaby?
Good morning, Moonhaven Falls. This is Barnaby Buttercup here, reporting for the Crystal Network. I am on the beat to get the reactions on the street. I am standing here with Mrs. Gable, who is currently staring quite intently at her garden. Mrs. Gable, how did the great de-animation affect your home? It's unsettling, Barnaby. Before the wizarding gnome cast his spell, Gerhard here was holding a fishing pole. Now he's frozen in a seated position with a hand on his chin and looking as though he's having an existential crisis. Don't get me wrong, Gary did us a service by stopping them, certainly, but I can't shake the feeling that Gerhard is just waiting for that wizard to come back and finish the job. And speaking of legal matters, what is your take on the Litigate branch and the aftermath of their investigation into Gary? Oh, it was very distasteful. I mean, they were technically within the law. They reminded me 42 separate times, but Lord Kendrick's legalese tax at the bridges feels like a bit much. It seems like we're being punished for a group of outsiders who followed all of the rules just a little too well. Kendrick really ought to have just shown them the gate without potentially taxing our commerce. Well, thank you for your time, Mrs. Gable. Oh, Thistle Overhill, may I have a moment of your time? Thistle, you watch the Gnomepocalypse from behind your shop window. No chipped ankles for you?
Not a one. I threw a boot at the two that tried to cut through my shop and then reported them, though. Now look here. I trust Gary implicitly. He says the magic's gone and they's just clay again. I believe him. He is the one who watches our kids, after all. I mean, it's a shame the wizard and gnome slipped away, though. But long as Gary's on the clock, I, for one, am not losing any sleep.
And what are your thoughts on the law clan of the Longclaw's splinter group Litigate?
Cowards and crooks, every one of them. How dare they come to Moonhaven Falls and try and kidnap a local icon like Gary? Gary's done more for this town than any lawful initiative ever will, trying to twist the laws to harass a man just 'cause he's, well, a bit skeletal. It's a disgrace, that's what it is. They're lucky Laura didn't toss them all in the cells herself.
Why, thank you, Thistle.
Barnaby, over here.
Ah,
I got me
Silas Stone, everyone. Silas, you seem to have some strong opinions on the remaining garden ornaments in town?
Yeah, they should be smashed, all of them. Ground into dust for gravel. Don't care if they're de-animated or not. Magic's like a bad smell. It lingers. That wizarding feller escaping proves it. Job ain't done.
Oh, and were you personally impacted by the invasion? Did your gnomes turn on you?
Now that ain't none of your business, Buttercup. Whether I had to wrestle a ceramic bearded man off my boot or not's between me and my cobbler, but I'm telling you, them gnomes are a menace.
Fair enough. And what about the Litigate situation? Did their investigation impede your day today?
Nope, didn't bother me one bit. Stopped me at the bridge once, handed me a 3-page affidavit of non-association, and then asked if I knew where Gary kept his treacherous evasions. I told them I didn't know a thing, signed the line, and they just waved me right on through. If people's upset about the bridge tax, they should really learn to walk faster. Honestly, it's a waste of ink if you ask me.
Thank you for that informed opinion, Silas. This has been Barnaby Buttercup, getting the reaction of the common citizen of Moonhaven Falls. Back to you, Audric.
Good afternoon to you, my good masters and mistresses. Greetings to the paladins and the monks. A jaunty salute to the masons, the clergymen, and the citizens of all walks of life here in the Lost Realms. Welcome back to Crossroads Chronicles, where we explore the less conventional stories from across the land. Today we have with us a rather formidable-looking guest, a dire badger who claims to have once charted the most treacherous terrains, and thankfully has brought along his human companion to help us decipher his pronouncements. Please welcome Barnaby, the allegedly retired cartographer, and his druid Elsa.
Greetings. Barnaby is pleased to be here.
Barnaby, quite the presence you have. Elsa, thank you for agreeing to act as our translator. Barnaby's past as a cartographer is certainly an interesting claim. What led a creature of his particular talents to the delicate art of map-making?
Barnaby indicates his keen sense of smell allowed him to detect the subtle changes in the terrain, the mineral composition in the soil, and even the prevailing winds. These details, often missed by human eyes, were crucial for accurate mapping. He found a certain satisfaction in bringing order to the wild chaos.
Order from chaos, eh? Well, it's not exactly the first thing that comes to mind when one encounters a dire badger. So you're saying Barnaby here had a nose for navigation?
Exactly. He could differentiate between the sense of a well-trodden path and a barely discernible game trail. He could even, or so he claims, smell the difference between granite and sandstone from quite a considerable distance.
Well, that's fascinating. And how did he actually create these maps? Does he have tiny badger-sized quills?
Barnaby employed a more robust method. He would scratch the outlines into a soft earth or clay tablet, using his claws to mark key landmarks. He also utilized a system of scent markings to denote important features, which he would then communicate to his human collaborators for transcription onto a more conventional material.
Scent-based cartography. That's an interesting approach. Elsa, how did you come to learn of Barnaby's unique history?
Oh, I encountered Barnaby many years ago in a particularly dense and uncharted forest. He was rather meticulously rearranging a pile of fallen leaves and twigs. Upon closer inspection, I realized he was creating a surprisingly accurate representation of the surrounding area. Through our connection to the natural world, I was able to understand his intentions and his past endeavors.
So he essentially showed you his resume in leaves and twigs?
In a manner of speaking, I suppose. His memories and experiences were quite vivid and readily accessible through our shared connection.
And what kind of maps does Barnaby specialize in? Were they mostly underground burrows? Particularly good foraging spots?
No, and Barnaby takes umbrage at that suggestion. His work encompassed a wide range of terrains, from the mountain passes to the subterranean cave systems. He even claims to have contributed to maps used by certain discrete guilds for navigating the underbelly of larger cities.
Discrete guilds, you say? Well, that adds a certain mystique to our cartographer. Barnaby, through Elsa, what led to your retirement from this unusual profession? Did you simply lose your directional scent?
Barnaby indicates the constant travel and exposure to the elements eventually took their toll on his constitution. He also expresses a certain disillusionment with the increasing reliance on less olfactory-based methods of navigation. He feels the art of scent mapping is becoming sadly overlooked.
A traditionalist, I would guess? Elsa, as someone who can communicate with such a unique individual, what are your thoughts on Barnaby's claims? Do you find them entirely credible? Easy, Barnaby, I'm asking her opinion.
Barnaby's connection to the land is quite profound. His senses are far more attuned to the nuances of the environment than most humanoids could possibly comprehend, and while his methods may seem a little unconventional to you, the accuracy and detail that he conveys through our connection leaves very little room for doubt to me. He possesses a deep and genuine understanding of spatial relationships and the surrounding landscape.
Well, I must admit I'm intrigued. Barnaby, through Elsa, do you have any advice for aspiring cartographers out there? Perhaps those who haven't yet developed the ability to smell a mountain range from several miles away.
Barnaby advises patience and meticulous observation. To truly understand a landscape, one must engage all of their senses. To not just see the mountains, but to feel their texture, to hear the wind whistling through their peaks, and, yes, even smell the subtle changes in the air that speak of their composition. He does emphasize the importance of getting your paws dirty, so to speak.
Sage advice, Barnaby. Elsa, thank you for sharing this unexpected tale with us here on Crossroads Chronicles. It certainly gives a whole new meaning to the term groundbreaking cartography.
It has been our pleasure.
That was Barnaby, the retired dire badger cartographer, proving that even the most beastly of beings can have a surprisingly refined past, and a big thank you to Elsa for shedding light on his unique career. Don't go anywhere, folks. You're listening to Crossroads Chronicles here on the Crystal Network.
Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
You know, it's been a while, so I decided to head on down to the bounty board for an episode of Adventurer's Call.
We will start off with a couple of easy quests. For those of you tuning in for the first time, these are usually quests that only require one, maybe two people to accomplish. Generally, they're low risk for a moderate reward. First job, right away on the board here, retrieving the sunken cargo from a ship. Reward is 75 gold pieces, so decent payout. The breakdown is that a small ship of iron ore sank just off the coast in shallow, calm waters. Job should be simple. Dive down, secure the salvage, bring up anything that is salvageable. Only real potential danger is like fatigue, stray fishing lures, maybe a wandering monster, that kind of thing. I would say the best class for this quest would probably be Triton, Sea Elf, really anyone with water breathing or decent swimming skills. Specifically, however, a barbarian or a fighter, someone with high athletics ability, as the challenge is almost purely physical. You're lifting heavy, sodden objects and then wrestling them up to the surface. Should be easy money for someone like that, though, and it definitely fills your monthly bathing requirements as well. Ha! Up next, escort the cartographer. A couple down here. It looks like the local cartographer needs protection while mapping a recently settled valley. There are no known major monsters, but the occasional aggressive or territorial beast, like a bear or pride of wolves, is likely. Best class for this is probably a ranger or druid. Their core identity is really survival in the wild, and their training provides a perfect blend of tracking and setting up safe campsites, as well as the efficient defense against common animal threats, which should ensure that a cartographer stays safe and the survey stays on schedule. Also, a druid's ability to explain that they're just passing through should be especially invaluable in a job like this. How about one more easy one? One like this one. The Case of the Singing Tree. Reward is 55 gold. A peculiar large tree in the local woods has started singing, a high-pitched and unsettling lullaby that keeps the local villagers awake. The task is to identify the source of the noise and, frankly, put a stop to it. Best class would likely be either druid or, believe it or not, a bard. I mean, this is clearly a case of misplaced magic, or, possibly a sentient plant. Violence shouldn't be necessary. The druid's ability to commune with nature is self-explanatory, and a bard's proficiency in performance, persuasion, and knowledge of magical effects actually would make them an ideal candidate for communicating with or even charming the source of the noise, assuming it's not a sentient plant. That would solve the problem without having to chop down a potentially useful tree. Going up a little bit in difficulty, I would say that these tasks probably require more than one person, likely need a specific blend of offensive and defensive tactics as well. First one on the medium level here is securing a griffin nest. The reward is 350 gold pieces plus an unhatched egg. The breakdown on this one appears to be a pair of griffins that have built a nest dangerously close to a popular mountain trail. They are unfortunately too aggressive to be ignored, but they are also magnificent creatures that the local guilds wish to relocate, not kill. I will stress that, not kill. So this is going to require a non-lethal takedown. I would say for a job like this, you're going to want at least a minimum of 3 people. Heavy hitter, probably a fighter or barbarian to draw the griffin's attention and, the ability to survive their initial dive attacks. Ranged controller of some kind, probably a rogue or a ranger with nets. Maybe specialized tranquilizer arrows or darts to ground and then disable the creatures non-lethally. You'll also probably want a support caster of some kind, a cleric or a wizard. Someone who could cast spells like sleep or hold creature, maybe even calm emotions to subdue the griffins and protect the party from any serious injury during the relocation phase. Moving on, for a more combat-oriented party, maybe this one? The Serpent's Mouth Siphon. The reward, if successful, is 4 vials of distilled vision, which, according to this, will allow a person to permanently perceive the world around them the way an earth elemental does. I think they call it tremor sense. The location is the base of the Misty Canyons, just below Surtur's tabletop. Your objective is a cluster of Crystal Crag harpies who have stolen a shipment of focusing salts that were destined for the local mages college and have then retreated to a series of precarious sea-slicked pillars known locally as the Devil's Teeth, located at the mouth of a massive cave. The tactical problem here is that the harpies are not just flying. They're also using the Moonhaven River's heavy mineral content to sing a resonant frequency that vibrates the stones of the cliff. So a strike team is probably going to need to descend, likely via ropes, flight, maybe feather fall, but they're going to need to get to the pillars to physically retrieve the salts and disrupt this resonance nest, as well as getting them back up the cliff face, or else, I suppose, out to a boat waiting below if you can get one close enough. The reason you have a defensive need on this one is the harpies' song actually causes a vibrational tone that the locals are calling stone slickness. Apparently, it's incredibly difficult to keep your feet. You're moving at 1/4 to 10% of your normal speed. On the cliff tops above, a defensive team could very well hold like a stabilization circle, whether magical or mechanical, just to keep the fighters from losing their footing on the vibrating rocks, counter-frequency type of thing, as well as fending off the harpy dive bombers who will probably be targeting the anchors. This is definitely going to be a balancing act. You'll need to disrupt the resonance long enough for your people to get in and out quickly, while also fighting off flying menaces who are trying to knock you into an early grave. Honestly, for this one, I would definitely suggest a tank or a heavy support like a paladin or a fighter. Someone with high strength and constitution who can physically hold guide ropes or plant a heavy shield when the harpies dive bomb from the cliff's edge. Their ability to stand their ground against shove attacks would be just absolutely vital. Paladin's aura of protection would also be a godsend here. It would help the rest of the party resist the stone slickness and even the harpies' captivating song. I would definitely also bring a disruptor of some kind, probably ranged or maybe a control caster, probably a bard or sorcerer, someone who can cast silence on the harpy matriarch's nest, which should hopefully shut down her primary weapon. The caster's ability to use featherfall as well, in either scroll or memorized form, would be essential for when, and not if, when a climber inevitably loses their footing on the slick stones And then Thunderwave, of course, would be great for blasting harpies off narrow cliff edges if they do get a little too close. Personally, I'd also add like a striker, maybe a monk or a rogue, someone who can, actually get down to the devil's teeth, grab the salts, and then get back up or out to sea as quickly as possible. Whoever it is, though, they're going to need really high dexterity, probably a good acrobatic sense as well. That's why I mentioned the monks. Monks should be able to run across vibrating water, or even up vertical pillars with unarmored movement. Rogues, of course, have the cunning abilities, dash and disengage, weaving through harpy swarms without really getting pinned down. Honestly, I'd probably bring a fourth person with on this one. Lookout of some kind, someone with good range damage, maybe a ranger or possibly even a warlock. Ranger with a longbow could pick off harpies before they even reach the anchor team on the cliff, where, of course, a warlock has Eldritch Blast and the repelling blast invocations. Should be able to just knock harpies out of the sky and down into the rapids below. Let's see. Is there anything particularly challenging? Oh, here. Wow. Yeah, this one's going to take a full party. Closing an interplanar rift in the desert canyon. The reward is a nice high reward, 3,500 gold pieces and an artifact of protection. The breakdown, however, is that a particularly volatile rift has opened up deep in a remote desert canyon. It's currently leaking noxious fumes and minor fiends into the material plane. This leak must be fully contained and sealed before any larger, higher-level entities can cross through. As I said, this is definitely a full-party encounter. You're looking at extreme heat, sandstorms, the chaotic magical energy of the rift itself. I mean, you're going to need resources and magic to resist exhaustion and energy damage. Your initial combat will likely involve multiple waves of imps, maybe Drex or a powerful young demon, and all while navigating the unstable terrain. On top of that, most fiends are immune to certain weapon types and are resistant to fire. Also, these kinds of incursions usually have some kind of Rift Guardian, usually an invisible or ethereal chaos entity, or even a high-ranking devil to act as a gatekeeper. The enemy's probably going to require a higher level of magical protection, something like protection from good and evil, maybe even banishment, and of course a character who understands complex rituals that will likely be necessary to seal the rift before the creatures can escape it permanently. Yeah, this one is definitely going to require a couple of powerful offensive magic casters, some heavy-duty protection, and of course someone with high-level arcana or religion. Yeah, fiends and planar travel. It's certainly an exciting way to spend a weekend, but regardless of the risk, the work is out there, folks. So that seals the lid on the bounty board for today. Thank you for tuning into the Crystal Network, and always remember to check the condition of your boots and never trust a singing tree.
Good evening, Moonhaven Falls. Hi, Aldrich. We're back. Well, technically, we're down. Deep down in the Shadowfen. And honestly, Mr. Cashmere, the moss here is so much lovelier, glowing shade of acid green, and brochures suggest. I'm here with the Silver Sentinels. They've just pulled something really shiny out of the old wall. It's glowing.
Look, kid, please. Watch the tripod, huh? That mud is more volatile than it looks.
Right, sorry. So, Kaylin, tell the listeners, is this a cursed soul trap, or just a very aggressive nightlight?
We don't know yet. Usually our bard T handles the vaguely humming geometry department, but he's back in Moonhaven Falls dealing with some personal business at the moment.
It's oscillating on a frequency that's just making my teeth itch. Kaylin, I need to stabilize the ley line anchor before I can even identify the school of magic. I'm going to need both hands for the somatic components.
Oh, wow! A real magic oscillation? Can I get close with the audio spheres? It sounds like bees? Lightning flies, maybe?
Look, intern, Timmy, right? You want to be helpful? Just hold this for a second, would you? Mira needs to do a localized dispel check, and I need to make sure no bog troll heard your intro.
Me? You want me to hold the ancient Shadowfen Crystal of Destiny?
It's just a crystal, kid. Just keep it level while I cast, okay? And whatever you do, don't...
Don't worry, I got it. Oh my goodness, it's so warm. It's vibrating.
Vibrating?
Yeah, It's like holding a purring cat. If the cat was made of starlight and vibrating at the speed of sound. Oh man, this is the greatest day of my professional career. I can feel magic tingling up my arms. It's actually starting to turn my fingers a really pretty shade of emerald.
Timmy? Is everything okay? Timmy? I think we may need to cut to another segment for just a little bit while I send someone down to the Shadowfen real quick. You're listening to Audric Cashmere with the...
Don't worry, Audric. I'm here.
Timmy! This is a new look for you. How did you get back from the Shadowfen so quickly?
Quickly, Audric. As far as I can tell, I've been gone for almost 2 years because a rock threw me back in time. By the way, I really use some ladders.
2 years? You do look older? I don't suppose you want your old job back?
Heck yeah! This job is awesome! I'm going to need to get paid from now on, though. Time traveling costs more than you'd expect.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it looks like I have some reading to do. Timmy, good to have you back.
Good to be back, boss.
Do you want to say it?
You bet I do. You're listening to the Crystal Network, so don't go anywhere.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This concludes our episode for the week. We release a new episode every Tuesday morning at 5 a.m. Eastern, and I hope you all found this podcast a bit riveting, a little enchanting, and perhaps even just a bit droll. If you did, I'd appreciate it if you could take a moment to rate this podcast, maybe share it with a friend or a community, as well as stopping by our Facebook and Patreon page to let me know what your favorite segment is. If you haven't already, I would also request that you subscribe to the channel or follow the podcast. It's a simple, easy action that lets the algorithm know that you listen to and want to continue hearing these stories. As you are now aware, Timmy had a little jaunt through some of Moonhaven's backstory, and we are currently running a poll on Patreon, which is open to our patrons, as to whether or not I should do a Letters from Timmy segment, and then whether it should be a general bonus episode, restricted to patrons, or just an early release to our financial supporters. I do believe that early release is currently dominating the voting, but do please explore the community on Patreon if you would like to voice your opinion officially or unofficially. Do also please keep in mind that I personally write, edit, and produce all of the content for this show, with the occasional guest appearance from my wife and children. So if you want to buy me a cup of coffee, or Timmy a cup of cocoa, as encouragement to continue creating it, we would gratefully accept. Thank you to all of our supporters, especially the increasing number of you who have reached out to tell me your favorite segments. My family and I genuinely appreciate all of you showing your support by tuning in every week, and we would like to thank you for continuing to do so. I look forward to seeing you guys in the comments, and I hope you tune in again next week.